Welcome to Edu-Power Talks, your go-to channel for unlocking the power of education and skill development. Here, we dive into transformative tips, expert insights, and inspiring stories to help students, professionals, and lifelong learners in Kenya and beyond achieve their dreams. Whether you're preparing for exams, building your career, or seeking personal growth, this is the place to be. Subscribe now and join the Edu-Power Talks community as we empower you to learn, grow, and thrive. Listen to the hosts now.
Okay, so you're ready to take your job search to the next level. You've got your articles, your notes, maybe even a whole stack of books. It can feel like, wow, where do I even start?
It's true. There's so much information out there. And these sources we're diving into today, they actually do a good job of going beyond the usual, fluff.
Yeah. It's not just about having a good resume. They're really trying to get at the psychology behind a successful job search.
Exactly. How do you stand out? There's so much competition. You have to make an impression.
So, for example, one of the things that really jumped out at me was this whole section on niche job boards.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I'll be honest, my first instinct is always to go to those big sites,
Right.
Indeed, LinkedIn, those are the ones that come to mind. But one of the sources talked about this site called Coolworks. Have you ever heard of that?
Yeah, Coolworks. That's a really interesting one. It's specifically for seasonal jobs and travel-related work.
Yeah.
And what's so smart about it is that it's really tapping into a very specific desire, like people who are looking for adventure. Maybe they want something temporary or a unique experience. It's not even just applying for a job. It's more like signing up for a lifestyle.
It's almost like they're pre-screening the candidates.
Okay.
Because if you're on Coolworks, you're probably not looking for a traditional 9-to-5.
You're already interested in something a little different.
Yeah. And think about it from the employer's perspective, too. They're reaching people who are already excited about, maybe the less conventional aspects of the job.
Right.
So it saves everyone time and it increases the chances of finding a good fit.
Definitely.
Which makes you wonder, what other really specific job boards are out there? What's the Coolworks for your field?
Ooh, that's a great question.
Right.
And it actually leads into another really fascinating thing that these sources talk about, this whole idea of hidden jobs.
Okay, now you're going to have to explain that one.
Yeah.
What are hidden jobs?
So these are the jobs that never even make it to a job board. Any job board.
Okay, so how do we even find those? It sounds like a secret club or something.
Well, it's not as mysterious as it sounds. One source, actually, they recommended checking company websites all the time. Even if they're not actively advertising jobs.
Regularly.
Yeah, because sometimes they might post something internally before it goes public.
So it's about, being the first one to know.
Exactly. Getting that sneak peek. And then another thing that's often overlooked is reaching out directly to HR departments.
No, that can be intimidating.
It can be, I know. But the point the source made was that even just expressing your interest, it plants a seed. You might not hear back right away, but you're on their radar. And who knows, maybe down the line, an opportunity pops up that's perfect for you.
That makes a lot of sense, especially for, smaller companies or startups.
Yeah, where they might not have a super formal hiring process. And of course, we can't talk about finding those hidden jobs without talking about networking. Our sources they were very clear on this point.
Right.
Networking is more than just having a LinkedIn profile.
It's about making real connections.
Exactly. Building relationships.
But I think a lot of people hear the word networking and they kind of cringe. It can feel, kind of forced, maybe even a little sleazy sometimes.
I get it.
But what our sources are talking about seems different.
It's about authenticity.
Yeah, what are they actually suggesting?
Well, one thing they emphasized is informational interviews.
Okay.
And these are not about asking for a job. It's more about, gathering information.
Oh, I see.
Getting insights from people who are actually working in your field so you can learn from their experience.
Ask questions.
Exactly. And then maybe down the line, who knows, maybe that could lead to a job opportunity. But it's not the primary goal.
It's almost like turning the job search into a learning experience in itself.
I love that way of putting it, yeah. You're not just sitting around waiting for a job to appear. You're out there getting knowledge, meeting people.
Exactly. It's a totally different approach. So what else did these sources say about networking? Like, how do we do it effectively?
Well, one thing that came up was finding your niche communities.
Okay.
And this could be online, it could be offline. It's about finding the spaces where people in your industry or people who share your interests actually gather. So this could be a specific LinkedIn group or a professional association, maybe even just like a regular meetup at a coffee shop.
Right.
And these are the places where you can share ideas.
Is connect with people who get it.
Exactly. And it's more genuine than, like a typical job fair where it's all very transactional.
It's about finding your tribe.
Exactly.
And being an active member of that tribe.
And showing that you're passionate, showing your expertise. And that can lead to opportunities that, you might never have found otherwise.
Okay, now, we got to be real. Networking can be awkward.
It can be.
Especially for us introverts.
Oh, tell me about it.
But the key, I guess, is to approach it with a genuine desire to just connect. Yeah. To learn from other people, share your own experiences.
And remember, it's okay to start small.
Right.
Online communities can be a really great way to dip your toes in, build up some confidence, practice having those conversations, and then maybe venture out to an in-person event when you feel ready.
That's a great tip. So let's say we found some great opportunities.
Okay.
Maybe it's through a niche job board or a connection, or we did some good networking. Now we need to make our application stand out.
Mm-hmm.
And our sources had some pretty strong opinions about resumes and cover letters.
They did. One thing they kept saying was you have to go beyond just listing your responsibilities.
Right.
It's not enough to just say, I managed a team.
Yeah.
You have to actually quantify your accomplishments.
Yeah. There was a great example in one of the articles. Instead of managed a team, you could say, I led a team of 10. We increased productivity by 20%. Perfect.
And we reduced customer complaints by 15%. Bam.
Right. That's so much stronger.
Yeah.
Because you're not just describing what you did, you're demonstrating the impact.
Right. You're showing, not just telling.
Exactly. And numbers, they add credibility.
They do.
Something that words just, can't always capture.
Right. It makes it real.
Yeah.
What else do the sources say about creating a really good application?
Well, one thing they really emphasized was tailoring your resume and cover letter to each specific job. It's not about sending out the same generic document to every single opening.
Right.
It's about understanding the requirements of each role.
So it's kind of like you're a chameleon.
Yes.
You adapt your presentation to fit the situation.
Exactly. And that leads us to the cover letter.
Okay.
Now, our sources didn't say to ditch the cover letter entirely.
Okay.
But they did give some really good advice about how to make it effective. And one thing that stood out to me was, don't just address it to hiring manager.
Find a specific person to address it to.
I can see how that would make a difference because it shows you've done your research.
Exactly.
It shows you actually care about this company and this role.
Yeah. It allows you to personalize your message too. You can say something specific about the company that you admire. Maybe mention a project they've worked on or even a value they have that you really connect with.
Right. So you're taking it from a formality and you're making it an actual connection.
Exactly. And another thing, don't just repeat your resume.
Okay. Yeah.
The cover letter is a chance to tell a story. It's a story about your unique qualifications.
It's almost like it's the introduction to your resume. It's like the appetizer.
Yes.
It gets them ready for the main course.
It's about capturing their attention.
Right.
Piquing their curiosity and making them want to read that resume and learn more. Speaking of storytelling, that leads us nicely to interview prep.
The interview. Okay. Everyone knows. Of course, you should practice your answers. But our sources, actually, they suggested something called the STAR method.
Yes, the STAR method. It's a fantastic framework.
Okay, so for people who haven't heard of it, what is that?
It's a way to structure your answers so they're clear and concise and compelling.
Okay.
It stands for situation, task, action, and result.
Okay.
So essentially, you're telling a story, but it's a very specific story that showcases your skills and experience.
I have heard of this, but I'll be honest, I've never quite grasped how to use it.
Right.
Can you give us an example? How would someone use the STAR method to answer a typical interview question?
Sure. Let's say they ask you to describe a time you faced a difficult challenge at work. Instead of just rambling, you would use the STAR method to tell a focused story.
Okay. So walk us through it. How would that story unfold using this framework?
So you start by setting the scene, the S, the situation. You might say something like, in my previous role as a marketing manager, we had to launch a new product line, and we had a really tight deadline.
Okay, so that's the S. What about the T, the task?
The task was to develop a whole marketing campaign, that would generate buzz and drive sales for this new line. Then you move on to the A, the action.
Okay.
So this is where you describe specifically what you did to address the challenge.
So I might say something like, I led a team of 5, and we created a multi-channel strategy.
Exactly.
We did social media, we did email marketing, we did influencer outreach.
Perfect. And then finally, you get to the R, the result. This is where you highlight the positive outcome of all your hard work. So you might say, and as a result of our efforts, we exceeded our sales goals by 15%.
Wow.
And we even got some great media coverage for the new product.
See, that's so much better. It's so much more specific.
It is.
And it really shows what you're capable of.
It's not just saying, I'm good at marketing. It's like, here's what I did. Here's the proof.
Right.
And the beauty of the STAR method is that you can use it for all kinds of questions.
Right. Not just about challenge.
Exactly. Leadership, problem solving, teamwork, whatever it is, you can adapt it.
Okay, I am definitely going to be working on my STAR stories after this.
It's a game changer, seriously.
This is such good advice. What else should we keep in mind when we're getting ready for interviews?
Research.
Okay, yeah, research the company.
The company, the industry, even the interviewer, if you can.
Right.
It shows you're genuinely interested.
You've gone the extra mile.
Yeah, it's not just any job. It's this specific opportunity you care about.
Right.
And remember, an interview is a two-way street.
Ooh, that's such an important point.
It's not just about them assessing you. It's about you deciding if it's the right fit for you.
We forget that sometimes, right? We're so focused on impressing them.
We do.
So what kinds of questions should we be asking?
Well, go beyond just asking about the role and responsibilities. Ask about company culture.
Okay.
Team dynamics. Opportunities for growth. Really get a sense of what it's like to actually work there.
Right. It's not just about the job title. It's about, is this the right environment for me?
Exactly. And then one more thing about interviews. Nonverbal communication matters.
Oh, yeah.
It's not just what you say, it's how you say it.
Body language, right?
Body language, eye contact,
Yeah.
your demeanor. It all contributes to the impression you make.
So even if I've got, the perfect STAR stories and I'm asking all the right questions, if I'm, slouching and not making eye contact,
It's not going to work.
it's not going to work.
You have to project confidence, enthusiasm.
Even if you're terrified on the inside.
Exactly.
Fake it till you make it, I guess.
Well, sort of.
Yeah.
It's more about channeling that nervous energy into a positive energy. And practice, the more you practice, the more confident you'll become.
Right. Okay, so we've talked about finding those hidden opportunities. We talked about making our applications stand out. We talked about interviews. There's one more piece to this puzzle, though. Standing out in a really crowded job market.
Right.
How do we do that?
This is where personal branding comes in. It's about creating a unique story, a compelling narrative that showcases your skills and your experience.
I hear that phrase all the time, personal branding.
It's everywhere.
It's everywhere, but what does it actually mean?
Okay, so it starts with understanding your value proposition. What are your strengths?
Okay.
What are you passionate about? What sets you apart from everyone else?
It's like you're creating a marketing campaign, but for yourself.
Exactly. And who's your target audience? The employers who would be most interested in you. And then how do you craft a message that resonates with them?
So is it all about having a really good LinkedIn profile?
LinkedIn is definitely important,
Yeah.
but it's bigger than that. It's about having a consistent presence online. So social media, your website, your portfolio, if you have one.
So it's about building a digital footprint.
Yes, that shows who you are professionally.
Right.
And it's not just about creating content.
Okay.
It's about engaging with other people. Participate in discussions, share your insights, make connections. Building relationships online is just as important as networking in person.
It's like you become known as an expert, a thought leader.
Right. And remember, it's an ongoing process.
Okay, so you can't just do it once and forget about it.
Exactly. It's about consistently showcasing your skills, sharing what you know, and building those relationships that could open doors.
So you're building your reputation both online and offline.
Exactly. And one more thing about standing out. Our sources talked a lot about the importance of mentors.
Okay, yeah. having someone to guide you.
Yeah, building relationships with people who can offer advice and support.
Now, that's a great idea. But how do you even find a mentor?
Well, they suggested looking within your existing network. Maybe a former professor, a colleague, someone you admire that you've connected with online.
Okay.
And it doesn't have to be this, formal agreement.
Right.
It could be as simple as, asking for advice, feedback on your resume, or even just shadowing them for a day to see what their work is like.
It's about taking initiative, reaching out to people who can help you grow.
And remember, it's a two-way street. It's not just about what you can get from the mentor. It's about what you can offer them, too.
So it's a mutually beneficial relationship.
Exactly.
What else did our sources say about navigating this whole job search process?
Well, they really emphasized staying positive
Yeah.
and being resilient.
That's hard, though, especially when you're facing setbacks.
It's tough, but the job search is a roller coaster. It has its ups and downs.
And rejection is never fun.
No, it's not. But they suggested focusing on the things you can control, like your attitude,
Yeah.
your effort, your willingness to learn.
Okay.
And they said it's also important to celebrate the small victories.
Yeah.
Maybe you had a good networking conversation.
Right.
Or you finally finished your cover letter.
Or you had a really good interview.
Exactly. Even if they don't lead to a job offer right away, they're still worth celebrating.
It's about acknowledging how far you've come.
Yeah. Appreciate the journey, even when the destination feels, far off.
Right, because every interview, every application, every connection you make, it's a chance to learn and grow.
Exactly. Take those lessons to heart, adjust your approach as you go, and keep moving forward.
Okay, so we talked about finding those hidden jobs.
We did.
We talked about making those applications amazing. We talked about interviews, personal branding. It seems like there's a theme running through all this.
There is, definitely. It's all about being proactive. It's not about waiting for the perfect job to find you. You have to go out and make it happen.
Be the driver of your own career. I love that.
It all starts with mindset.
Okay.
If you believe you can succeed, you're already halfway there.
So what does this all mean for you, the listener? How do you take all this information and actually put it into action?
Well, our sources didn't just talk theory. They gave us some really good, actionable tips.
Okay, good.
So one of the simplest but most effective things is setting up those job alerts.
Right.
On the niche job boards we talked about, it takes 2 minutes.
Right.
And it could save you hours of scrolling through websites.
Right. It's like having a little robot recruiter working for you.
Exactly.
24/7, bringing those opportunities to you. And while we're talking about being proactive, what about that idea of reaching out to HR directly?
Yes. It can be intimidating, but it shows initiative.
Right. It shows you're serious.
Even if there's no job open right now, you're making a connection.
Right. It's all about building relationships. And speaking of which, networking events, yeah, they can be awkward,
They can.
but everybody's there for the same reason, right?
We're all in the same boat.
Exactly. So don't be afraid to strike up conversations, ask questions, share your experience.
And if you're feeling a bit shy, start online. Join those LinkedIn groups, comment on articles.
Or maybe dip your toes in.
Build your confidence.
Every interaction is a chance to learn something.
Absolutely. And when it comes to those applications, less is more.
Okay.
Our sources were pretty clear about that.
Keep it concise.
Concise, highlight the most relevant skills.
Make it look good.
Yes, visually appealing. Think of it like a marketing document.
You're selling yourself.
Exactly. And with the cover letter, don't use a generic template.
Okay.
Let your personality shine through. What are you passionate about? Let that come through in your writing.
Right. Tell your story.
Exactly. And one more thing before you hit send, proofread.
Yes. So important.
A typo can be the difference between getting an interview and not.
It's all about attention to detail. It shows that you care.
And interviews, we talked about the STAR method. Have those stories ready.
Right. Practice them.
It'll help you structure your answers, showcase your skills.
And remember, it's a two-way street. It's your chance to see if this company is right for you.
Ask questions. Get a sense of the culture, the team.
Yeah.
And afterwards, a thank you note goes a long way.
Right. It's a nice touch.
Shows you're appreciative.
Even if you don't get the job, every interview is a learning experience.
It is?
And speaking of continuous learning, let's go back to personal branding.
Yes. Building a strong online presence takes time. It's an ongoing process.
It's like tending a garden. You have to keep at it.
You have to, yeah. Add new content, engage with your network.
Show the world you're a lifelong learner.
Exactly. And don't wait until someone asks for references.
Oh, good point.
Reach out to people proactively, former employers, colleagues, professors. Ask if they'd be willing to give you a testimonial.
Right, have those ready to go.
And if you're in a field where a portfolio makes sense, don't underestimate its power.
It's like a visual representation of your work.
Exactly. It brings your resume to life.
And you can keep updating it with new projects, you know? It's not static.
It's a living document. It shows what you can do.
Right. It's like giving them a glimpse into your world.
Speaking of creativity, let's talk about something our sources didn't specifically mention, but I think it's worth considering.
Okay, I'm intrigued.
The power of storytelling in your job search. We talked about resumes, cover letters, the STAR method for interviews, but at the heart of all of that is storytelling.
Right. You're taking all your experience and weaving it into a narrative.
Exactly. And humans, we're wired for stories.
We connect with them.
We do.
Yeah.
So how can you tell your story in a way that really resonates with those potential employers?
No, that's the question, right? And this is where things get interesting.
It's not just about what you've done.
Right.
It's about why you did it. What challenges did you face? What did you learn? What were those moments that made you realize this is the path for me?
Those are the things that make it real, that make people connect with you.
Exactly. Imagine you're in an interview.
Okay.
And instead of just listing accomplishments, you share a story about overcoming a huge obstacle.
Right.
You rallied your team. You thought outside the box. You achieved something amazing.
Yeah.
Which is going to make a bigger impact.
The story.
Every time. It paints a picture. It creates an emotional connection.
Right. It makes you memorable.
And the thing is, everyone has a story.
That's so true.
It's about recognizing the power of those experiences and shaping them in a way that highlights your skills, your values, your potential.
So as you're going through your job search, think like a storyteller.
Think like a storyteller, yeah.
What's your unique narrative?
Exactly.
What are the chapters in your career story?
And how can you share those stories in a way that makes you stand out?
That's such a great way to think about it. You're not just listing facts, you're painting a picture of who you are.
Yeah. It's about making a connection, human to human.
Okay, so we've been talking about all these strategies and tips. I'm curious, what really stood out to you from all this research? Was there anything that was like a big aha moment?
Honestly, what really struck me was how much emphasis they put on mindset.
Mindset. Okay.
One of the sources even said, your mindset is like the most important factor in having a successful job search.
Wow. Okay. We always talk about resumes and interviews and skills, but maybe we're not giving enough attention to our internal state.
I think so. It's about cultivating this mindset of confidence,
right,
resilience, and abundance, like believing there are opportunities out there for you.
Believing in yourself, basically.
Exactly. Believing in your worth, your ability to succeed.
Yeah.
Even when things get tough,
And I bet that kind of mindset shift, it affects everything else you do.
Oh, absolutely.
Like how you network, how you come across in interviews.
If you believe in yourself, other people are more likely to believe in you too.
So how do we do that? How do we actually cultivate that kind of mindset? Did the sources give any practical advice?
They did.
Yeah.
One of them suggested starting each day with affirmation.
Affirmations, okay.
Yeah, positive statements that reinforce your strengths.
So instead of waking up and being like, another day of job hunting, it's more like, I'm awesome, I'm going to find the perfect job.
Exactly. It might feel silly at first, but over time, those positive thoughts, they can really start to change your thinking.
It's like planting seeds and then they grow into confidence flowers.
I love that.
Yeah. What else did the sources say about creating a really positive mindset?
They talked a lot about surrounding yourself with supportive people, friends, family, mentors, people who believe in you.
That makes sense because this process can be tough. It's
Yeah.
easy to get discouraged, especially if you're facing rejections.
It is.
Having those cheerleaders in your corner can make a huge difference.
Yeah, they can pick you up when you're down, keep
Yeah.
you motivated. And speaking of motivation, another big takeaway was the importance of taking action.
Okay, yeah. You can't just read about job search tips and hope for the best.
Exactly. It's not enough to just think about it. You got to actually do something, even if it feels scary.
I think a lot of people get stuck in that overthinking phase.
Oh, yeah. Analysis paralysis.
Yeah. You're researching every possible option, but you never actually make a move.
And that's where the magic happens. When you start doing things, putting yourself out there.
Okay, so for someone listening right now, what's one small action they can take today to move their job search forward? What's that first step?
It can be really simple. Update your LinkedIn profile.
Okay.
Reach out to someone for an informational interview.
Hmm.
Or even just like block out time on your calendar to focus on your job search.
It's about taking that first step, no matter how small, and then keep going.
Consistency is key. Make it a habit.
Right.
Set realistic goals. Celebrate the small wins. Remember, it's a marathon, not a sprint.
And it's okay to ask for help.
Yes, don't be afraid to reach out to people. Utilize those resources.
There are people who want to help you succeed. You're not in this alone.
You're not.
You know, it's funny. As we've been talking about all this stuff, I've realized something. A lot of this advice, it's not just for finding a job. It's for, like, life in general.
Oh, totally. Being proactive, making connections, telling your story, those are important no matter what you're doing.
Right. And speaking of telling your story, one of the sources mentioned something that really stuck with me. This idea of reframing your weaknesses as strengths.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one. We tend to focus so much on what we're not good at.
We do.
But this source was saying sometimes those things we see as weaknesses, they can actually be our biggest advantages.
Okay, I'm listening. Give me an example. How do you reframe a weakness?
Okay, let's say someone is like super detail-oriented,
Yeah.
almost to a fault.
Okay, I know that type.
Right. And they might worry about that, like, oh, I get bogged down in the details, I miss the big picture.
Right.
But you can flip that around.
Okay.
Instead of apologizing for being detail-oriented, you highlight it as a strength.
Mm-hmm.
You're meticulous, you catch errors others miss, you're committed to quality.
It's like changing the narrative.
Exactly. And it works for so many things, like maybe you're introverted and you hate networking events.
Ooh, yeah, that's me.
But instead of seeing that as a bad thing, you talk about your amazing listening skills, your ability to connect one-on-one, build those really strong relationships.
So it's about recognizing that what makes us different can actually be our superpower.
Exactly. It's about embracing those differences and showing how they make you valuable.
I love that. Okay, so as we wrap up this deep dive, what's your final piece of advice for our listeners? What's that one thing you want them to take away from all of this?
You know, it's simple, but so important. Believe in yourself. Believe in your worth, your skills, your ability to find the right opportunity.
Believe in yourself. It's easier said than done sometimes, but I think that's really the foundation of everything.
It is. The job search can be hard, but if you have that positive mindset, that belief in yourself, you can achieve amazing things.
And remember, you don't have to do it alone. We talked about all those resources, those communities, the mentors who were out there to support you.
That's right. Reach out, ask for help, connect with people. You've got this.
You've got this. All right, that's it for our deep dive today. We hope you found it helpful. Now go out there and rock that job search.